Hi, everybody. My name is Dave Schade. I'm the director of your Alaska Division of Agriculture. So today, I'm going to report back on what has been a very busy week. So I flew down to Juneau on Sunday because we had the opportunity to talk to the House Finance Subcommittee on the division's budget. And so first of all, I really have to give a shout out and a thank you to Representative Merrick, the co-chair, and Representative Puckatuck, who's the chair of the House Resources Committee. Those are the folks with their team on that. The group does our budgets. And so that was a 1 hour long discussion we had. Go on to the legislative website. You can see that discussion, and I think it answers a lot of questions. Hopefully we were able to answer questions the legislators had, and we'll move forward. There's some questions we have to do follow-up for. That is part of this process, and it's really important to get the questions and the answers and put it out in front so that everybody can see. So I encourage people, if you want to know how the process works, these committee hearings are live with the legislature. They're recorded. You can go back and watch them. So we're really appreciative of the fact that the legislature asked us to come down and to brief them and help them understand what we are trying to do, working on behalf of the Dunleavy administration and the people of the state of Alaska. Because remember, folks, it's always about the people of the state of Alaska. And at the Division of Agriculture, it's always about making sure that you have the food and the fiber and the products you need. And so food security is becoming a big buzzword, but in Alaska, it's a real deal. And the legislature and the governor have definitely stepped up, and we're going to start working on this quite a bit. So before I get too far into some of the discussions, I do want to give a really big thank you to the Ag, Forestry, and Fish Coalition. Whatever the name's going to stick, we're not sure. That's the legislature to decide. I asked them not to use Alaska Grown in the name because that's actually a registered trademark in something. And these are really strong supporters of ag. So it was kind of hard to ask them not to use what we all know is one of our best known trademarks and marketing secrets. But Representative Rauscher and Tar, Senator Hughes and Kawasaki, wonderful people, strong, longtime supporters of agriculture, great discussions with them. And I'm sure in 2 weeks when I'm back in Juneau, we'll continue those excellent discussions. Senator Revac, we had a great discussion about the land bill and other ag issues, and look forward to answering some of his questions. Other folks that I was able to catch this time, Representative Nelson's, Vance, and McCarty. There were numerous others, and we'll be back down and talking to folks. If a representative or their office ever wants to talk to me, they know my numbers, and so they can always reach out, and we'll be back down. And I also have to thank Director Ike Lapasos of the governor's office, very helpful. He directs these processes and was able to be very helpful and supportive as we were working on these initiatives. So a couple I want to talk about. So one, the budget. That was why I went down. We wanted to talk about the division's budget, and we have an excellent budget. One of the things that are added into this budget that we're pretty pleased about is our sponsorship, the division sponsorship of the Future Farmers of America. And that's something that we think is going to be key in helping build young farmers and young entrepreneurs that work in the farm and food industry. And so the board of directors of FFA asked the legislature and the governor if they could move from the university sponsorship to Division of Ag. I think that's being well received and something that the governor has promoted and is supporting. And of course, as the director, I've thought it was a great idea from the beginning. The other big issue for the Division of Ag is our lands bill. And we have a lands bill, House Bill 120, Senate Bill 97, that we started on last year. And in there for the Division of Ag are a couple things of significant importance. And I say that because it is something that helps our ongoing programs. The first part is we have what they call LDIF, Land Disposal Income Fund. And that's a fund where we sell land, we take that money, we use it to support the program moving forward. A very important component to make sure that we continue our land sales program. We have a cap of $5 million, and we're requesting the legislature raise that to $12 million. The goal is so that we have a little more working room to build out as we move forward. As a lot of folks have heard, we have the Nanetahchakut project, 140,000 acres of area that we're moving forward with. And this is part of our overall scheme to help assure that we're going to be able to move forward with that major project, as well as other projects such as the North Fork project down near Anchor Point. That is a joint mission thing we're working with Mining, Land, and Water, our other sister agency. The second part of this, and it's a real important one for me and one that I've been working and trying to explain, is an update to ag covenants. Ag covenants are critical. There's two things policy-wise and reasons why we have ag covenants. First is we want to make sure this land, when it goes into ag production, stays in ag production. So we write a covenant that says this is what this land's for. And that's the rights, the bundle of rights the state's selling is for you to live and work your farm. It also is one of those things to where it sets certain restrictions so that it stays in agriculture over the long term. Part of the problem we've found is this was written in the 60s, very early in statehood, and agriculture has morphed. It's become more modern. And so we really understand the fact that there's need to be a more modern definition of farming and what you can do on these ag covenants land. And so that's in this bill to take lands and take some of the restrictions and make it a little more user-friendly while keeping the overall goal of keeping it in ag. The other, of course, policy issue is ag covenants are partly so that the price of that land is cheaper so people can afford to farm. One of the challenges of farming now is some really good farmland is more valuable for other purposes. And this is a way for the state to work to make sure that we have land that is cost effective for young people and others that want to get into farming at a price that it pencils out economically. Because like it or not, if you don't have the economics, you don't make at least a break even, a little bit of money, it's so long and then you go out of business. It doesn't matter whether you're profit, nonprofit, or anything else. You have to have the cash flow. You have to get the return on the investment or you won't be there long term. Agriculture, as I always tell everybody, is a multi-generational, excuse me, long-term project or process. So, as we go forward, we're trying to make sure that we get rid of restrictions, we allow proper timelines, and we make this work for people. So as we have discussions with the legislature, of course, this is the opportunity for the public to talk about what's working, why they like this, why they might not like this, but this is a very public process. And so when this comes up in front of the committees again for further hearing, we'll have it on our website, and we encourage people to look and listen and comment and give their ideas. I know that the Farm Bureau, some of those folks, Mr. Muggeridge, Amy Seitz, the president and executive director, and a team of other people are down there this week. And one of their concerns is the fact that ag land, some under covenants, people aren't actually utilizing that land for production. And so that is a great point. That's a great item for discussion of how do we do this and how do we give people the ability to let their land go fallow and make it better, but keep it in that production mode, which is exactly what was the original desire and continued desire we have. So, as I said, the public is part of this process. We welcome it. We encourage people to be involved in what we do. So a really big thank you to the Farm Bureau and the team members that are down in Juneau, talking to DNR, governor's office, the legislature, and that is an independent activity they do, and one that we really appreciate their support. Had a great discussion with them, with Deputy Commissioner Goodrum and folks from the governor's office and DEC yesterday. So, well, I'm sure we'll continue those discussions. Love to go to their conferences, have chats with them. I am a member of the Farm Bureau. I'm a member of the Farmers Union for Alaska, have been for years. Those are the two premier ag organizations that respond back and work with the Division of Ag on the state level. And of course, there's the national level. And then we have all a lot of other groups and agencies. And so that feedback from all the agencies and groups is very, very important to what we do. So, I think that's a rundown of the first few days of the legislature from the division's point of view, but a couple other things that are coming that I really wanted to impress upon people that are coming. So the first is yesterday, the governor put out an administrative order that establishes a food security task force. And that's really important. And it's kind of a fast track deal. They want to have it done by September, a report, and give us an outline and a look at what are our food security issues, what level of food security do we have, and how are we going to approach reducing our reliance on out-of-state product, and how do we protect ourselves? And at the same time, the legislature has a bill sponsored by a couple of representatives. Liz Snyder, I think, is the prime sponsor, which is a legislative task force, which we will be reviewing and discussing and supporting, because I think everybody knows that when you go into the store and the shelves are empty, that's a problem. And it's not a political problem, it's a people problem. And it's one that we're very well aware of. We get the phone calls, how come there's no meat? How come there's no flour? How, as the food chain, the supply chain, I should say, issues have become pretty apparent. You shut down the passes into Washington State for 4 days. They were throwing away milk, but we had empty shelves for about a week because of the delay and stuff getting to the ships and to the trucks and on. The issues in Canada about vaccinations and truckers and that. I mean, this is something that, while not in our jurisdiction, we're very well aware of, and try to help with dialogue so that we know that the food's coming up the roads and on the seas to get to people. And that's something that from the governor on down, we're aware of and working on. Commissioner Feige has been working on task forces and groups for quite some time, as well as our deputy commissioner and myself as the director. So it's not just one of us. This is a team effort as we look to make sure that people have the food and other products they need to eat. With that, I do want to really congratulate my grants team, talk about yeoman's work, and a wonderful thing. They now have the first year of micro grants. The contracts are done. They were due by the 6th or the 7th, I believe. And we got most of everything done. So we have worked really, really hard to update, computerize, and make it as easy as possible for people to be part of this program. And so I just, if you signed your contract, be looking for an email from our grants webpage. We'll give you instructions on how to start getting the money and moving your project forward. For those of you who didn't get an award, new date, February 14th, we're opening up the next round of micro grant applications. So there's some updates, and I really want people to listen carefully and understand we're going to run this a little different this year. It took way too long to get through this process. Taking a year to get grants out on the street is unacceptable. I apologize. We spent hours, we spent days working with USDA to get approval, to make things work. From arguments from what nonprofits qualify, to can you do subsistence, things that to us were clearly great in the thing, took a while to get through. In the end, USDA came through and approved them, and I think have worked out a pretty good program and working relationship. Remember, this was new to them as it was to us, and that was a little tough. So from February 14th to March 30th, we're going to have grants out, and that should be up on the website today, tomorrow. And here's the difference. Oh, there's a number of things, but what we're doing this year for individuals, they're fixed amounts. And so you're going to see on the webpage that says gardening. And I'll just look here and say, there are things like purchasing gardening tools and equipment. So freezers, $1,000, vacuum packs, $1,000, canning setup, $1,000. Down things to building a tower for leafy vegetables, $500. So what we've done as staff is we went out and we got, what is the level of cost of an item or a product or a project that an individual could do, so that we could go and say, all right, instead of weeding through 1,000 applications that where people was like, I'm building a 20 by 30 garden box, and the next guy's 20 by 33 garden box, and analyzing and ranking all of this, which is what we just had to do, we're going to make it pretty simple. We're going to say, look, here's what we're going to do. We're going to go through this. And if you want to start or expand your hydroponic or aeroponic farming, there's $1,000. That is what it's going to be on the amount you can get. Second part is you're going to have an allotment for being able to ship. We understand that shipping to Anchorage is totally different than shipping to Bethel or any other further little village. So shipping, we've just set out and said, okay, if you're in Anchorage, it's $500. If you're Matsu, Fairbanks, North Starborough, further out, it's $1,000. And if you're in the Far Flungs, it's $1,500, because we know that it can cost you $1,500 to get $1,000 worth of product out into some of our smaller villages. We're trying to be effective and efficient with the funds, and we're trying to make it work. So the outline and the ranking is pretty simple. And it goes like this. And it's just easier if I read it. So I said, you're going to have 100 points. Priorities are the highest food insecure areas determined by census. That's worth 40 points. Number of direct beneficiaries, that's direct beneficiaries, 20 points. Number of indirect, 10 points. Project description provides an explanation of how to increase food security is 10 points. Provides a method to measure food produced, stored, or distributed, 10 points. And has not previously received an award, because, you know, we told you there'd be a priority for people who didn't have a prior award. That's 10 points for 100. Listed in order of most infrastructure starts at Cusselvac census area. Can't even pronounce the name. Bethel, Northwest, Yukon, down the line. It's in line, and that's what we're going to do. We fully suspect that we will run out of money once again before we get to the bottom of the list. Next year, when we get final funding, we'll do this again, and we might adjust it again. Now, that was for individuals. And for agencies and other groups that are allowed, they still can come in and do their request, it's pretty simple now. It's going to be one time, provide a brief project description, provide an outline of objectives, and provide an online budget. So for individuals, maximum of $5,000, there are fixed amounts. There'll be 1 to 5,000. I think 500 is the lowest one. For the agencies and for other non-individuals that qualify, it's going to be up to $10,000. These are one-year projects, because that is just trying to get the most money to the most people, the most food security we can as fast as we can. Nonprofits, other different tribal entities that qualify, there's a list. The one thing we're making clear is we're not doing groups this year. You can't do groups of individuals. You can't do groups of agencies. It was a contracting nightmare, as each individual had to approve and be allocated funds. Required under federal law, we worked really hard to get out from under that, try to work around it, but we have to give them 1099s. It has to go to individuals. I apologize for those groups that found it impossible to get it together. There were a few that they lost people and they weren't able to get their contracting and put it into place. I don't think it was very many, but that was a real sad consequence. It's a federal requirement. We didn't have a choice on that. So it really was one of those things to where we had to work really hard to stay within federal guidelines, maximize what we could do for Alaska. We were not willing to wait longer and not have this out for this next coming year. So in effect, we're going to have 2 sets going out for springtime. So I'm really excited about what we've been able to do. Look on the website, you'll see that coming. And then I think most of the questions are going to be answers. We've done a video that tells you how to do this, why we're doing it. Look at that. Remember, we only have one person dedicated full-time to this and another part-time. So everybody asking the same question, we don't have time for that. So we've done the video, we've done everything for the training. Hopefully you can get that online. If we miss something, then send us an email and we will get back to you, because That's much better to give you a quick email back than it is to have the phone messages stacking up and that. And of course, if there's something really critical that the email, they don't understand, they can give you a call back. So please leave that information. But that's what we want to do. Finally, I do want to talk about specialty crop. And so specialty crop is going to be open this year from March 1 to March 31st. And that's going to be on the website here shortly. That's for agencies and other folks to work on specialty crop research and marketing projects. We have $255,000 available this year from USDA. Some are internal projects, some are external projects. The difference this year, there's not going to be letters of intent and then a final ask. This is one go. You're going to come in, you're going to fill out your application. The good news, it's all electronic. You will be able to go in, fill this out, and do it. We literally are finding the amount of hours it takes to try to go through and run this multi-level process not worth, we just don't have the time to do it. And so what we did instead is make it very simple for the agencies to give us a very succinct and good project. In the past, it was, okay, here's how you narrow it down, go back and forth, this is the kind of project. So instead, we have done the tutorials. People that do the specialty crop are in industry, they're collaborating. I think this should work. If it doesn't, we'll take another look at it last year. But to roll out effectively $3.5 million in 6 months, we have to be efficient, and we just don't have that level of staffing. So we're working to support Alaskans best we can, and that requires some automation. I literally am one of the testers because if it won't work for me, we keep working on it. And I think I'm really proud of what we've been able to do with our smart, simple software. And we work every day to make it easier. Electronic signatures, we've made that work. There's a lot of things that our IT folks, I have to give a shout out to them, made this work, whether it's on your handheld, on a laptop, whether you have to go to the library in your community and do this. We wanted to make this to where everybody had access. And I think we've done a pretty good job of that. And we acknowledge there are some places that's still really hard to do. And if you're in some place and you can't figure it out, call us and we'll help find a computer and a system for you to get onto, because it has to go in this way. It makes it fair, it makes it equal on the ranking, it makes it a lot quicker for us to give it to USDA in one uniform package. Their reviews went down from months to weeks, and that was really good work. They got us turned around really fast. So I'm talking fast because you can tell I have been on time limits with the legislature for last week. And so you learn to really speed up and go through it. So do we have any questions, John? Sometimes I like to see if I missed something from the folks out there. Comments and suggestions, but no questions. All right. So folks, I'm going to be in NASDA next week. That's the National Association of State Departments of Agriculture. So Arlington, Virginia, it's literally across the river from Washington, D.C., meeting with my fellow directors, commissioners, and secretaries. And the good news is we will be meeting with the senior leadership of the USDA. That's our opportunity to talk to Secretary Vilsack, Deputy Secretary Brana, and others that are so vital to moving these programs and helping them understand the unique challenges Alaska has. NASDA has supported exemptions to some of these projects for Alaska, Hawaii, and our territories, to where using the model for the lower 48 states just simply will not work for us. And I really do appreciate the support of all of our other states. This is from the smallest, like Rhode Island and Alaska and Hawaii, and the territories, to working with the folks from Florida, California, and Texas, which are our biggest ad states. It's really nice when you're on a first name and working basis and you try to find ways for everybody to get the food and the programs on the ground for the people, so that we have a robust food and fiber production in the United States, because we are the #1 exporters of the world. First, we're going to feed ourselves and our people, which we do, hands down. And then we feed a lot of the world, and we have to continue to do that. Do we have issues? Of course. Supply chain issues are going to be at the front and center. I know that we're going to have discussions about waters of the U.S., WOTUS rule. We're going to have discussions about industrial hemp and what are the still continuing impediments to operate industrial hemp as a new agricultural crop. Those are the kind of issues that we sit and work through over 3 or 4 days and then work back. I know that one of the keys that I want to learn is a lot of these grants and where are these programs for infrastructure coming through USDA. They're talking about energy. They're talking about development, rural development. Well, it doesn't get more rural and the need for development than in Alaska. And so I explained to them that we don't have electric poles. We need just basic electricity in a lot of our ag areas. They thought I was joking the first time I said that. I'm like, no, I don't joke. Not about things like that. So we're going to work. Governor Dunleavy has said that when we have good, effective federal programs, we'll work them into what we're doing to grow the economy. Ag will be a cornerstone of the rebuild of Alaska. Really believe in that. Most everybody knows I'm pretty passionate about what we do around here. Whether I'm sitting at home or whether I'm sitting in Juneau or in Washington, D.C., it's the same message. We need to do better. We need to do it for ourselves. And so with that, guys, I really appreciate all the support we have in Juneau from the legislators, from the folks that are calling their legislators. It's really great. It was great to be down in person, to have some of those conversations. If you have the opportunity to do that, definitely use your LIO, go to Juneau. It's a really open process in Alaska. It's one that we can be really proud of. So with that, I'm going to say, have a great day. Have a great week. See you soon. Bye now.